So last week I was reacting to Rassie Erasmus's Springboks squad, his selections to build up to their first match of the season against Wales at Twickenham in a few weeks' time. And I got this comment on the video from Graham. So thank you, Graham. Please do a vid on the team you would pick from this squad, which was a good question. It got me thinking, and that's what I've done. A 23 Springbok team to face Wales. Now, it's worth remembering it doesn't include players from the Bulls at the moment, and players that play in the UK and Ireland won't be available for selection either. So even though Jasper Wiese, Andre Esterhuizen, Andre Pollard are all in the squad at the moment, my understanding is they're not available for selection. So it's a 23 based around those parameters. The comment section of this video is where you can go and tell me all of the selections I've got wrong, or maybe the ones you agree with, fingers crossed, and let me know the team that you would select. Who would be your 23 from the players available at the moment for the Springboks to face Wales at Twickenham? Whilst you're here, also like the video and subscribe to the channel as well. But let's get straight into it. This is the 23 that I have gone with. Now, before I go through the names, and I will go through them and explain what I'm thinking in terms of selection, is the intriguing thing, I think, for what Rassie Erasmus does with this Wales test is to what extent is it a warm-up for the two massive tests against Ireland? I cannot wait for that series. And to what extent do you want to get your more experienced players that will play in that series back into the team and playing together again? And how many young players or less experienced players do you bring into the team? I think that is what makes selecting the team at the moment so difficult. But I'll explain what I was thinking in terms of my selections. So in the front row, I wanted to go in the end with the experienced props. I was very tempted to go with Mkunu and Fortier, but in the end I put them on the bench because where I have gone with someone less experienced is Andre Hugo Venter. And my selection basically was, do I go with the inexperienced prop and an experienced hooker in, say, Mbonambi or Marks, or do I go with the experienced props and the inexperienced hooker? In the end, I did the latter because I felt like it's better to start the game well, and also for those less experienced props to hopefully be coming into the game in a position of strength where the team has been put into a good position. So I've gone Unche and Malherbe as my props, and Andre Hugo Venter, who's had a great season with the Stormers, son of a former Springbok. I wonder whether he will be someone that can play his way into contention in terms of the pecking order at hooker for the Boks. It's so competitive. Mbonambi and Marks, both in their own right, are absolutely class. They would start for probably most, maybe not all, but most international teams. So I wanted to see him and give him a go and give him a start against Wales. A Wales team, remember, who at the moment aren't in a great spot. Even though the Springboks have plenty of injuries and will be missing players from the Bulls and UK and Ireland, as I say, it's still a really strong Springboks team that I would back to be able to get the job done against Wales. But that's what I'm thinking with my front row. Second row, I went experience, partly because of the lack of it in my back row. But Etzebeth and Moster, two players I think will start against Ireland. Let's get that combination back together. They have been brilliant for the Boks, brilliant players in their own right. And as I say, because my back row is less experienced, I wanted a bit more experience and nous and know-how in the heart of my pack. So that's why I went with those two players. Speaking of the back row, though, very inexperienced, really. So Evan Ruis, who has played before, obviously, he is, I think, a brilliant player, brilliant back row player. He has all the assets in his game that suit a Springbok back rower. He is physical, he can ball carry, he can be a menace at the breakdown, but he's never quite broken into the Springboks team. He was part of the pre-World Cup training camp, didn't get part of the World Cup squad. I wonder if his time is eventually going to come, but I wanted to see him start this game because of that. I've then gone Ben Jason Dixon on the flank. It will be interesting to see where he fits into this Boks team once the players from the Bulls get called up, but for the time being I wanted to give him an opportunity as well. And then Buthelezi, likewise, is a player who for the Sharks in the Challenge Cup, when I've seen him in the URC, the bits that I've caught, I'm always so impressed what he brings to the game. Big ball carrier. And the fact that Jasper Wiese isn't going to be selected, I did have Jasper Wiese down at first because I wanted someone who did have a bit more experience in that back row, but he's not available, so therefore Buthelezi, and it is a fairly inexperienced back row. I suppose with Roos and Buthelezi, you've got to, well, Roos in particular, who has played Buthelezi, who's been very good for the Sharks. But yeah, I went inexperience in the back row, experience in the second row. You can let me know what you make of it. The back line is also where there is a bit of mixing and matching. As I say, there are a lot of injuries at the moment. I know Cheslin Kolbe has returned, I think, to the training squad, but he is rehabbing. You've got Kurtley Ahrens are out, Kanan Moody, Damien Willemse, Lekanyuam. Like, there are some quality players and experienced players that are not available for selection at the moment, which is why, when it came to my halfbacks, I feel so bad for Sia Masuku, but I went with Marnie Libok. I went with Faf de Klerk as well. So I went with Faf and Marnie because I wanted to see the experience there at 9 and 10 to try and control the ship. There are so many areas of this team where there is not going to be that much experience that I thought 9 and 10 was an area I wanted. And I feel terrible for Sia Masuku. Arguably, he is the in-form South African number 10 based upon the domestic season. I think he has been brilliant. But he doesn't even get onto my bench. Maybe that is where some criticism might come my way. But yeah, experience was the main thing I was thinking for Faf and Marnie. Also got experience at 12. Andre Esterhazen not available for selection. But I've paired Damien Dialende with Ethan Hooker, who I'm really excited to see. Put him in the outside centre channel. I was thinking centres. I like it when someone who is making their debut is partnering with someone who is experienced. It's such a technical position in that back line, both in terms of how it works in attack and certainly at 13, it's such an important defensive channel as well that I wanted a mixture of both in there. But Hooker, I think, has been really good and deserves his shot. And then in the back three, again, it's a complete mix. We've got Makazole Mpimpe, who has been there and done it, a World Cup winner. I've got Afaleli Fassi, who has been capped before. I think 2021 was his debut. I remember him tearing England apart, I think, when England went and toured South Africa, but has never really been able to kick on. And then a debutant, Edwill van der Merwe. And I think if you are missing Cheslin Kolbe, then someone with the speed and the footwork of Edwill van der Merwe is a brilliant player to be able to bring in. And also he's pretty good strength as well. I think as a back three, then that intrigues me. And it's got absolutely bags of pace and finishing ability, which is where, well, the Springboks have never been short of talent in that area. But I look at the development of the team over the last few years of the previous World Cup cycle with Ahrens coming in, Moody coming in. There was a real injection of pace in that back line. And I think that continues that trend. So that's my 15. As I say, the big challenge I found was getting a balance between the experienced players and the frontline players that are probably going to play against Ireland and some of the less experienced players that you want to give opportunities to at some stage, but that might not be in a two-test series against Ireland with everything riding on that. So I've tried to give them more opportunities here. In terms of the bench, as I mentioned with the front row, because I've gone for the two less experienced props, I wanted Bongi and Mbonambi coming off my bench. Could have been Malcolm Marks. I think it will be Marks and Mbonambi for that Ireland series. Then Peter Steff and Quagga Smith. Now, I went with a 5-3 split on the bench, which the Boks don't usually do. I just wasn't sold on Salman Murat. I had him in there originally as a 6-2 split bench. But then upon reflection, I felt like there were other players that deserved an opportunity. So I ended up going for the 3 backline replacements. Grant Williams to cover 9 and can cover the wing as well. And in fact, in all of the backline, and I think this is something that we will see more and more of, particularly at international level, is players that can play in multiple different positions. It's been a bit of a feature of Steve Borthwick's England selection, actually. It's players that can double up and play fullback and play fly half. And I think you've got this in these 3 options. So Grant Williams for obvious reasons. Jordan Hendrickse, who likewise can kind of play 12, can play fly half. I think has played a bit of 15 as well. And then Sasha Feinberg Mngonzulu, who has just loads of X factor and again plays multiple different positions. I would really love to see him break into this Boks team and be given an opportunity. So I've got them coming off my bench. Hopefully that makes sense in terms of my thought process for selection, getting the balance of experience and inexperience in there, giving some players an opportunity where I don't think it will necessarily... Like I was trying to think of the structure of the Boks season. And so you've got the game against Wales, you then got 2 tests against Ireland, which I think, and I know Rassie Erasmus is trying to predict what Rassie does in terms of selection is a bit of a fool's errand. I think they will go for their strongest team in those 2 games. You're then into the Rugby Championship, where I think against the All Blacks, again, we see the strongest teams. Maybe we start to then see some rotation for the Australia and Argentina games. But my thought process there was, is this Wales test one of the few opportunities for quite a while to actually be able to get some of the debutants or the players with less caps into the team, which is why I wanted to fit them in here, which is why it is a bit of a green-looking team. So let me know. Comment section, what do you make of this as a 23 for that test match against Wales? I'm hoping to be at that game at Twickenham, in which case I'll be doing a video following the match from it. So yeah, drop a comment, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and see you in the next one.